Vice President Kamala Harris was back in Michigan today holding a rally at Riverside Park.
We have team coverage of the event for you tonight. We will be hearing from supporters gathered in and around the park and some of the neighbors about the rally being held in their community.
But we begin tonight with political reporter Rick Albin. He has a recap of the vice president's remarks today. Rick?
Well, of course, it turned out to be a beautiful October day for this outdoor event, and it was a big, enthusiastic crowd that met the vice president just a little further down. We moved up here because they're tearing down all of the bleachers and all of the things it took to put the rally together, and it sounded like a construction zone. But here in this park today, a whole bunch of people got together to hear what Kamala Harris says she'll do for the country if she becomes president. But it's not just about her talking about what she'll do. It's about trying to find those voters who haven't made up their minds yet. This race is so close that you have to find voters who have not been engaged or people who are for some reason not enthused about either candidate and try to convince them to vote for your candidate. And she said that's been happening. She said it's been happening with Democrats, of course, but she says also with independents and Republicans, including some that served in the Trump administration.
And I believe all of this shows that the American people want a president who works for all the people. And that has been the story of my entire career. In my career, I've only ever had one client: the people. The people. As a young courtroom prosecutor, I protected women and children. As Attorney General of California, I fought for students and veterans. As Vice President, I have stood up for workers and seniors. And as President, I will stand up for all Americans. All Americans. And together, we will build a brighter future for our nation. Yes, we will. Because, by the way, we will win. We will win. We will win.
Well, there's that promise I talked about at 4 o'clock, that we will win. And the vice president could be right, and she could be wrong. This is one of the closest presidential elections we've seen in a good long while. There'll be 7 states, the swing states, that will ultimately make the difference. A combination of 2, 3, or 4 of those will be the person who wins that can pull those states together. Quickly, let me show you how they all shape up right now. This is how close this race is. Pennsylvania, Trump leads by ½ a point. North Carolina, Trump leads by 1 point. Georgia, by 9/10 of a point for Trump. In Wisconsin, 1/10 of a point for Trump. In Arizona, the biggest lead of all, 1.4, which is nothing. And in Nevada, it's ½ a point. And here in Michigan, it's 9/10 of a point. So these two campaigns, while they have very little in common, do have this in common. That is, they need to find those voters who are otherwise not enthused about this race to make sure they can make these numbers change, or they can grow those changes, because it's going to come down to right now who gets their voters to turn out. And if there's some anomaly and your voters don't get to the polls for some reason, it'll take a few thousand to change the entire race. So this is really a game of inches now. It's going to be in the margins, and that's why you're going to be seeing these candidates back repeatedly. Next week is going to be absolutely filled with visits in and out of Michigan, both sides of the state. Coming up tonight at 6 o'clock, we're going to talk a little bit about this venue. It's a little unusual to have a big event like this for a presidential candidate outside of the park. So has it ever happened before? We'll talk about that at 6. Live at Riverside Park, Rick Albin, News 8.